All right, you guys, this is the live that goes around with lesson 4, desire. What is it? What is it for? How do we resolve our conflicts around them? And why is that so important? Well, it's very simple. The exercises in lesson 4 are about releasing the conflicts and trusting our desires. And the reason that's so important is because desire is actually what links us to the will of God. Okay? It is through our heart's desire that God communicates through us, and for the world. So it's very important to honor this space and not be conflicted. So many of the most common things that we tend to do is be very conflicted around our desires. For example, if we have a sexual thought, we suddenly stifle ourselves, or we feel ashamed or something. And rather than looking upon it with innocence, and I'm not saying that we're supposed to, jump on everybody's bones. That's not what I'm talking about. But rather than allowing yourself to feel that for the moment and allowing that innocence to flow through you, what we do is we stifle it, we call it evil, and then literally block the desire, and then therefore block what's trying to come through. And it's not a good place to be. We're conflicted. Or money. Money is a good one. Everyone desires to be wealthy, and then they have this underlying conflicted belief that money is evil, and then therefore stifle themselves. And so in these cases, it doesn't make sense. And it's a very interesting contradiction, because the church will be the first one to say something like, money is the root of all evil. But here, sign on the dotted line because I could use this donation right now. It's like, what? These conflicting thoughts are what we're trying to heal. And so it's very important that we work on this. We are supposed to realize that saying that of yourself you can do nothing, but your Father through you does all things, and it is very good. It is very important for us to realize that the only relationship that truly, truly matters is your relationship with God. Now, our egoic mind, the very first thing it's going to say is, what about my partner? What about my boss? What about my kids? What about the president? What about whatever? That's what our egoic mind is going to say, right? But see, here's the thing. When you are in alignment with God and God's will, your creations are in alignment with God's will. Therefore, you have nothing to do. But when we're not thinking like that, we're going to be looking outside and rushing to put out all these fires and trying to do all these little manifestation techniques and driving ourselves nuts, right? And all we really have to do is come back to center, to create as God creates. Because the truth is, we're not creating anything. Everything's already been created. So what are we doing? Allowing the feeling to come through us, resolving our conflicts and our judgments, because love and innocence are of the kingdom, and fear and judgment are of the illusion. So which one are we going to decide to live in? That's what we're working on. That was the purpose of allowing exercise or lesson 4 to come through. Okay? It's very important to remember a few things here. Desire is everything. That's your flow state. That's why I always say that heart-brain coherence is so important, because your heart and your desire actually means of the Father. Therefore, these are the ways from which your expressions come through. And in the exercises, what we're supposed to do is really get in tune with those things without judgment, so that we can allow these things to come through. Because the truth is, if we're fearing our desire, we will never know how God wants to express love through our vessel. Like if we want to travel and we say, oh no, that's impossible. Or we ask God, can you show us our purpose? And then a desire wells up in you and you're like, hold on, God, I got to stifle this desire really quick. Like it makes no sense, because the desire is actually God's way of communicating. And so this is how things flow through us. We want to get to the point where we are creating just like God creates. In other words, we have to be in alignment with our God state and know that desire is everything. So that's the first one. Secondly, making sure that we're releasing the judgment because we're stifling the flow. Our desires and our ability to create and manifest is like this endless well. It has no beginning, no end, no top, no bottom. There's no way to fill it. It just continues to overflow. So if we are stifling this flow, we are literally limiting our ability to create. And if desire links you to the will of God, then it makes absolutely no sense. Therefore, we're causing our own suffering, our own lack, our whatever it is that we want, we are literally blocking it from manifesting. It shouldn't be that hard. We don't have to write things out 3 times 33, 5 times 55, or we have all these other little techniques. All of that's unnecessary if you understand to release the judgment of your desire and allow yourself to feel these desires. Okay, so that's what that's about. Trusting your desires. Very, very important. It's okay to feel the way that you feel. If you want to join the Peace Corps all of a sudden, how do you know that that's not God's way of expressing love through you and allowing you to touch as many lives as possible? Therefore, to stifle that desire is to stifle that flow. So that's what that's about, okay? And lastly, I want you guys to remember what it says in the Bible. Of myself, I do nothing. Remember, I've said this twice now. But my Father through me does all things, and it is very good. That is so, so important, you guys, because I repeat, we are alive in the word. We are doers of the word. So we must embrace this nature. That's what lesson 4 was about. It's very fun. In fact, we could even partner with each other if you want and just see kind of what we desire and allow these things to come through. But more than anything, I really want to convey that because it's going to boil down to how much of God's love are you willing to receive and allow to be expressed through you. If you're stifling those desires, we are literally not doing that. And that's what lesson 4 is about. Allowing that to be nurtured inside of you and allowing those discoveries to come through, not fearing and not judging, and being okay with your desires. I know it sounds like a simple little thing, but it's a very important part of the process. If we're going to create like God creates, then we have to release all judgment. Our biggest fear is to realize that we're Christ incarnate. So when we stifle our flow, we are not allowing ourselves to become that. Desire actually leads to heaven on earth now. And if we're stifling those things, then we literally cause our own soul suffering. And I know a lot of people don't talk about desires that way because we have all these societies and all these thoughts, school of thoughts that are going to say what? Stifle your desire, desire nothing, that kind of that school of thought. Well, okay. Well, you're blocking your way into heaven. And when we block those things, we're doing so out of fear and judgment. Therefore, we are staying in the world and we have to work our way back into what heaven is. And heaven is the ability to create and say and do anything you want like this. Heaven is the ability to be okay without judgment and return that childlike innocence into expression. That's really what this is about, you guys. So lesson 4, the way of the heart, those are the things that I want to convey to you guys. That's the reason for the exercises. Please do practice them. Please do check them out and have fun. Have fun. And if you have these blocks, work on removing your judgment. No one says you have to act on everything, but allow yourself to feel them. Allow that innocence to return so that the next time that you say something, it's created instantly, because you're doing so from a place of freedom and not a place of fear and not a place of judgment. It's a lot harder to create when you're outside of the kingdom than when you are in the kingdom. And we're focusing, you guys, on remaining in the kingdom and to create as God creates. That's our job. That's our job. And we can do all these little tools and play in that 3D space as much as we want, but it doesn't have to be that difficult. That's what this is about. So lesson 4, following the thread of desire, is understanding what that is and resolving our conflicts and trusting ourselves to feel these things so that we can remain in a flow state and allow things to come to us. Remember, the first exercise was I need do nothing. The second exercise was more about trusting these things and allowing forgiveness and compassion to come through. Now we're going to follow this thread of desire and do so without judgment so things can come to us. Just remember, I'm going to leave you with this last thought. How much of God's love are you willing to receive? And then extend outward. That's what this is about. So I hope you guys enjoy this. It's really short. I don't want to keep these too long, but I do want these to go along with our exercises. And let's try these exercises and stay with this innocence, you guys. And if you have any conflicts or any type of judgment, or observe these things, but know that it's okay to feel these things. You don't have to act upon them, but the more you allow yourself to feel these things, you will notice that you are going to make yourself in tune with the vibration of what you want effortlessly, and then it sort of comes to you as opposed to you trying to create it. And so it's a very different way of existing and a very different way of being, but we have to work on that. That's the purpose of what we're doing here. So that's lesson 4, you guys. The way of mastery, following the thread of desire, remembering that it is of the Father, and remembering to allow that innocence to come through you. Not judgment, not fear, allowing these things. It really is that easy. And I know a lot of people don't believe that because they haven't applied it, but try it. Try it. Understand that everything is going to be working through here. I'm here as a guide, okay? This is not about following me. I'm just here as a guide, but I want you all to know and understand one thing. Each of you must get through the eye of the needle. Each of you can do this, and only you can do this for yourself. I'm simply guiding here. This isn't about following me. This isn't about anything else. This is just about facilitating you getting through the eye of the needle. So that's what these exercises are for. That's what these lessons are about. That's why I'm standing here. It's because I want each of you to get through that eye of the needle and remember that you are Christ incarnate, and without fear, create from a place of deliberate joy, deliberate love, absolutely no fear. I'm going to say it again. No fear and no judgment. Because when you do this, you remain in the kingdom. That's a choice that we have to make. And the only thing stopping us from doing this is our will. That's it. Our will, our desire to do so. Think about this, and I'll leave you with this thought. No one says to another human being, hey, I have no desire to be with you, but let's have kids and get married. Desire is under every action that we take. That's why desire is so important here. So let's not judge it. Let's understand. Look at every decision you've ever made and know that desire is underneath it. Everything that you ever do, you don't go to the refrigerator unless you desire something to eat. So do not judge this energy. Allow it to come through you. And let's really start creating like Christ creates. Let's do so without fear. I love you guys. I hope you're enjoying these lessons. We'll do lesson 5 next week, but this one I thought was fun, so I'm enjoying it. Just try the exercises, continue the structured practice, but have fun with it. And let's get back to creating as God creates. All right, you guys. Thank you. Talk to you soon. I love you.